slow, cheap, cramped, and lacking in features. Those are the terms that many used to associate with a vehicle in the subcompact class. In this day and age, auto manufacturers have learned that you just can't get away with building a vehicle like that. So with this third generation Rio, it's Kia's turn to show us exactly what they've learned. It goes head to head with highly competitive vehicles from Honda, Ford, Chevy, and even their sister company Hyundai. So where does this 2013 Rio stand? Let's find out. Styling is always subjective, but let me be one of the first to say wow at this new front end. It's certainly polarizing and memorable at the same time. You have these rather large bug-eye looking headlights flowing into the signature grille that the company introduced a couple of years ago. This particular SX sedan that I have also has fog lights and then the LED accents along the lower part of the headlights. Overall, it kind of gives the impression of a baby Optima look, which isn't a bad car to emulate since the company does sell about 150,000 of those every year. That baby Optima look is carried over to the side, especially on the sedan where it stretches about a foot longer than its hatchback counterpart. A couple of other premium touches you'll notice, especially on this SX trim, those big fat 17-inch wheels, which by the way, they are the lowest profile tire in the segment, as well as these nicely integrated turn signals in the mirror, which do power fold. I kind of think it's unnecessary in this type of vehicle. At the rear, some of Kia's latest designs have been mistaken for Audis. I'm not going to say that's the case here, but this Rio sedan doesn't look that bad. It certainly looks much better than some of the Rio's competitors. Now, personally, I prefer the hatchback for its versatility, but the sedan version does give you some nice things. This SX gives you these LED taillights, as well as the chrome exhaust tip poking out under the bumper. A couple of design flaws I'm noticing is this backup camera. It looks like an afterthought. Maybe Peter Schreier went home for the night when somebody designed it. It does compromise versatility as there's no more release to get to the trunk. You have to either pull the latch from inside the car or use the remote, which does actually reveal a pretty large opening in about 13.5 cubic feet of space. The seats are also 60-40 split. Those of you looking for more room should go for the hatchback, which gives you about 50 cubic feet with the seats folded. One thing that you probably won't notice until you actually buy the car, there's no spare tire in here. Kia just gives you a fix-a-flat kit with a compressor. Those of you who want a spare tire may want to look at adding one at the dealership. While sounding more like a John Deere tractor as opposed to a car engine, this gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder, or GDI in Kia speaks, lays claim as one of the most powerful engines in the class at 138 horsepower and 123 foot-pounds of torque. That's roughly about 30 more than the 2011 model. It's paired with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic on the upper trims. Fuel economy, that's more the important issue here. Kia said that this car would get 30 in the city and 40 on the highway. That was a couple months ago. Unfortunately, people weren't really getting that, so the EPA has re-rated the car to about 28 in the city and 36 on the highway. Thankfully, that's on regular gas. Stepping in the Rio, the first thing that you're going to notice are these hard seats. And by hard, I mean they are really uncomfortable for me. You guys might want to actually try the seats before you buy this car just to make sure that they work for you. Now, premium features can be found everywhere throughout this vehicle. The first thing you'll notice, the push button start. So basically, keep this key inside the car, put your foot on the brake, and push the button to start your lawnmower. I mean car. Now, the rest of the car is actually pretty nice in terms of design. I like the design of this dashboard. It's pretty simple, easy to use. I even like the air conditioning controls with the toggle switches for the AC, all the buttons, the recirc. Now, the dashboard is actually a soft touch material. You don't find that in this class of car usually. Unfortunately, it only comes on the EX and up. Thankfully, ours is the fully loaded SX. Now, our particular tester also has a premium package that rolls in heated seats, the leather, the push button start, the backup camera with the distance markers, the power sunroof. It basically turns this car into a luxury car, which isn't the case for this type of vehicle, 5 years ago. The instrument panel itself, very nice to look at. It's got clear gauges, it's got an LCD screen with your fuel economy information, your distance to empty, your trip. Now, the center stack is probably where everyone's gonna actually wanna, talk about when they're looking at it. Here's the thing about it. Kia's new Yuvo Microsoft system is actually new for 2011. It essentially competes with Ford's Sync and Toyota's Entune. However, when you roll in that premium package, you lose Yuvo. This is essentially their older system, and it doesn't have the music jukebox or the voice commands that Yuvo is known for. So it's, instead, essentially, you get, satellite radio, XM, FM, your XM traffic for the nav system, but you're using that Yuvo voice commands for the music. The techies may, complain about that. Other people may not even notice it. A couple of things you're noticing here, you buy this car and you just think, okay, I'm just gonna put my iPod cable in here and plug in my iPod or iPhone. Unfortunately, without Yuvo, you have to get Kia's proprietary cable for it to actually work. Another big misstep in my eyes. Now, the center console here is actually a sliding and adjusting armrest. It is padded, pretty nice. You have storage here as usual. You have a 6-speed automatic transmission. There was a time where these cars were saddled with 4-speed automatics. It's nice to see 6-speed automatics being put in this car. Paddle shifters are new for 2013 to add to that sporty feel of this car, but we'll talk about more on how it drives later on. Fortunately, the back seat of the Rio is on the smaller side for the class at about 31 inches of legroom. It's kind of like cruel and unusual punishment for the taller friends that you might put in the backseat of this vehicle. Those of you who actually like your taller friends might want to consider the Honda Fit and the Nissan Versa for more space back here. The seats themselves are a little bit short on support, especially on the thighs here. I'm a shorty at only 5'7", and my head is pretty close to the ceiling. Those of you who are 6 feet are probably going to be touching the roof line. A couple of things that you are also going to notice: there is no armrest right here with cup holders, and then there's no vents back here, which that's kind of expected, but at least you do get the dual mat pockets on the seat back. So with all this sleek, sporty styling, you're probably wondering, how does the new Kia Rio drive? So for those of you who actually haven't had a chance to drive the new Rio yet, you need to wipe your mind clean of the previous generation if you've driven that, or the previous Hyundai Accent. Kia has definitely improved this car, leaps and bounds over the previous second generation, which ran from 2006 to 2011. That previous generation basically was synonymous with the word penalty box in a economy car. So with this one, the one big thing I'm noticing immediately is refinement. This car feels more expensive in the way it rides, in the way the steering feels, in the way the engine performs. The engine, on the other hand, still is not the smoothest engine for me in terms of, the noises here and there. One thing I did notice is it drives a lot better when you're not, beating on the car, accelerating really hard, just because at above 4,000 RPM, the engine can get rather raspy and thrashy sounding. Definitely not the most refined engine in the class. What is impressive is the power. This car at 138 horsepower is not going to win drag races, but let's be honest, you buy this car for fuel economy, not to win drag races. And the balance that it gives you between power and gas mileage is not bad. The 6-speed automatic, though, is a winner for me. I like its crisp and refined shifts, and I like the 6th gear. It really results in some low revs on the highway speeds. The one thing that isn't great for me, however, is the handling. Now, Kia did improve this car's handling from the previous generation, but this is no Honda Fit, Ford Fiesta, or Mazda 2. Those are the 3 most, fun driving cars in the class. And the Kia Rio kind of just falls smack in the middle. It is more fun to drive than a Yaris or a Nissan Versa, but I definitely think that they could have stiffened the suspension more and tuned the steering better too. Just inspire more confidence. Going around corners, this thing doesn't really inspire much confidence around corners. One thing that I was expecting the vehicle to have is a jarring ride quality, and I'm glad to say that it's not really the case here. I mean, this car's ride is stiff and it is a little bit choppy, but you kind of expect that with this car. It's got a McPherson strut front suspension that's independent, and of course a semi-beam, torsion beam in the rear. Now, getting up to highway speeds in this car can be a little bit daunting. I mean, the engine makes decent power, but like I said before, pushing it, past 4,000 can be a rather unpleasant experience just because of the noise you guys can hear. But I gotta admit, most of the subcompact cars in this class are just like this, so you kind of have to lower your expectations when you drive a car like this. What is impressing me is the ride quality on the highway. In terms of noise, there's really not that much. The Honda Fit that we had in our long-term fleet was definitely much louder, and this car actually has a decent ride quality. The 17-inch wheels on those low-profile tires don't really crash all that much unless you're on really rough pavement, but the car tracks pretty straight. It doesn't really get affected by crosswinds that much. And it's pretty quiet. At about 65 miles per hour, it's revving at only 2,100 RPM, so that 6th gear big improvement. I just can't believe it took manufacturers so long to go from the 4-speed automatics that we all know in these cars to the 6-speed automatics. Now, the seats, however, are probably my biggest gripe. They're not very comfortable for me. For my body, the headrest comes too far out and kind of just hits your neck, and even though you can adjust it up and down, you can't adjust it, forward and back. So I kind of found myself having neck pain, and then the seats themselves don't have much thigh support. So in corners, when you're taking curves, your body's kind of falling out of the seat, and then there's no lumbar or anything like that. So my back was kind of killing me after a 45-minute commute. But everybody's different, so I would probably say give the seats a try, make sure that they work for you, take the car on a long drive just to decide. I mean, some people may actually like the seats, some people may not. It's kind of a different thing for everybody. The visibility in this car is also pretty good. You have these rather large side mirrors, you have these nice windows in front of the A-pillar. The view out of the back, though, is not as great, which is why I like how this car has a backup camera. Just because the high deck and then the big fat D-pillars kind of take up some room, and you can't really see much. You can see in terms of, highway off-ramps and such, this car's not going to really edge you on to go faster like the way it looks. It kind of is just like in the middle of the road here. This is a commuter car, and when you drive it like a commuter car, it works. When you're driving it like it's a sports car, it's not going to work. So, you kind of have to drive it the way the car was built to be driven. Now, the 6-speed automatic does have these new paddle shifters for 2013. And I gotta tell you, I like that Kia included them. However, let's be honest, most owners are never gonna use it. They actually give you 2 options for manual shifting. You can use the little shiftable gate here on the transmission selector or the paddles. One thing I don't like is how you can't just hit the paddle and change gears. The car forces you to switch over to the manual mode in order to allow you to manually change gears. I kind of think that I should be able to change the gears even without, putting it in the manual mode. So as I said at the beginning of this video, subcompact cars used to be, least desirable in terms of, choosing a new automotive vehicle. So how does this new one, stack up against, the previous versions? I think that it's a big improvement. I mean, the premium features in this SX model, the push-button start, the heated seats, the backup camera, the navigation system, it's all, creating a kind of a different feel for this car. It feels like you're driving a more expensive car, and I really like that because it makes this car more desirable, which is what Kia intended. The bad news is all these features come at a price. Now, this SX model is the top trim. This is literally the most expensive model that I'm driving. It's priced at $21,320, which is a lot of money. This is about $1,000 more than a fully loaded Fit, about a couple hundred more than a fully loaded Fiesta, and maybe the Chevy Sonic gets a little bit more expensive. I mean, for $21,000, you could buy a compact car, which is a class above the subcompact vehicles, and get a larger car and roughly the same gas mileage. However, keep in mind that vehicle will be kind of like a basic model. My recommendation is to buy this kind of a vehicle in the EX model with the convenience package. You're looking at about $18,000 for that vehicle. I think at that price, it's kind of a decent bargain. Especially, when you factor in Kias. Kias have been improving greatly in years. You got their excellent warranty, great value, this distinctive styling. I can't tell you how many people have, turned and looked at this car and then said, wow, this is a Kia. And I'm impressed myself. I mean, this is one of the latest new products that I've had a chance to drive and show you guys. And I'm really impressed with the direction that Kia is going. I'm very impressed with their new Forte that just came out. I'd be curious to see how that one drives. But anyways, and how this car fits in the subcompact class, I kind of think that it kind of fits into a middle ground in terms of driving dynamics, but in terms of value, premium features, and styling, it's definitely a winner in my book. So if you guys are in the market for a subcompact car and want something that's a little bit more standoutish, a little bit more youthful, feels more premium, I definitely would recommend the Rio. For those of you who kind of can't stand a car like this, you probably won't even be shopping in the subcompact class, but there's a lot of good choices out there, so I hope you guys will take the time to test drive everything that's on the market and make the decision for yourself which one works best for you. Anyways, guys, I hope you've enjoyed my overview of this 2013 Kia Rio SX. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all later. and really just embarrassed most drivers seen driving one. All right, let me redo that. I can't build a car to that standard even anymore. Ugh. Now it's Kia's turn with their all-new 2013. Yeah, I'm just, you know. I have this SX sedan, and it actually has daytime running lights that are LEDs underneath the headlights, which actually they're not DRLs. Let me redo that. Kind of flow sort of nicely with the Kia's, God damn it, headlights with a different LED accent. Wow, what am I saying here? To the side of the vehicle, especially on this sedan where it where it stretches. It has some functionality as there's no more release out here to get to the trunk. Unfortunately, there's an airplane coming and you can't hear me. It also compromises the functionality as... Why can't I say motor? Motor is an electric thing. Just stop behind a fucking Prius.